The Egypt versus Argentina match didn't end when the referee blew the final whistle. It actually started after that. From the very first minute, social media exploded. Millions of comments, thousands of videos, and everyone was asking the same question. Were these just refereeing mistakes, or was something much bigger happening behind the scenes? This is where the story gets even stranger. Because in this video, I'm not here to repeat everything you've already heard, and I'm not going to spend the whole time arguing whether the referee was right or wrong. I'm taking you behind the curtain. We're going to look at the numbers, the people involved, and the financial interests that were on the line. You'll see how some of the biggest companies in the world could have lost billions if the outcome of that match had been different. And together, we'll answer one question. What did FIFA have to gain from everything that happened? Has football really become just a sport, or are billions of dollars deciding who wins and who loses? The final part of this video might completely change the way you see this story. Before we begin, hit that subscribe button now, because as soon as we reach 100,000 subscribers, we're giving away iPhones to our subscribers. Now, without wasting any more time, let's get started. To understand the full story, we need to take one step back and ask an important question. How does FIFA actually make money from the World Cup? A lot of people assume that FIFA's biggest source of income comes from ticket sales and fans filling the stadiums. But the truth is that ticket revenue is only a small piece of the bigger picture. The biggest and most important source of FIFA's income is broadcasting rights. In simple terms, TV networks and streaming platforms around the world cannot legally broadcast World Cup matches unless they pay FIFA enormous amounts of money for those rights. Just imagine that a single match can attract hundreds of millions of viewers worldwide. That's why every second of the tournament carries tremendous financial value. At the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar, FIFA generated record-breaking revenue, with the tournament bringing in around $7.5 billion. The largest share of that revenue came from broadcasting rights. And this is where we need to pause for a moment, because the bigger the audience, the more valuable the tournament becomes. The more exciting the matches are and the longer fans stay engaged, the more valuable the broadcasting deals and advertising become. Keep that in mind, because we'll come back to it later. But broadcasting rights aren't the only source of revenue. The next major source is global sponsors. Car manufacturers, beverage companies, banks, sportswear brands, they all pay hundreds of millions of dollars just to have their names associated with the World Cup. Because the World Cup isn't just a football tournament. It's one of the biggest advertising platforms in the world, and appearing there allows companies to reach billions of people. But there's another detail from the 2026 World Cup that sparked a lot of debate: the introduction of hydration breaks during matches. Many people said the purpose was simply to help players deal with heat and fatigue. But if you think about it a little more, the story may not be that simple. Professional football players are used to playing long matches, and 90 minutes is nothing new for them. Another explanation is that these extra stoppages create more opportunities to show commercials. Every additional break means another chance for advertisers to reach millions of viewers around the world. And that raises an important question. If FIFA is so focused on advertising and revenue, why didn't we see the same approach at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar? The answer is that Qatar had a very different objective. Its primary goal was to introduce the country to the world, attract tourists, and reshape its global image. That's why many services were priced lower than people expected for an event of that scale, including tickets, transportation, and even accommodations. But the 2026 World Cup is a different story. The tournament has embraced a much stronger commercial approach. Ticket prices have increased significantly, and many fans have criticized the rising costs of travel and transportation. We've all seen the debate over transportation prices, with some domestic trips costing around $150 for a single journey. This is where the bigger picture starts to become clear. Modern football is no longer just 22 players on a field. Behind every match are billions of dollars. Television networks buying broadcasting rights, global companies investing huge sums, sponsors competing for the largest possible audience. That's why even the smallest detail on the pitch can have a much bigger impact than most people realize. And there's one more important point to add. This story isn't just about local businesses benefiting from the World Cup. It's not only about hotels, restaurants, or transportation companies making more money during the tournament. There's an even bigger player involved: the host nation itself. Hosting the World Cup is no longer just a sporting honor. It's become a massive economic project, capable of generating billions of dollars while giving the host nation an opportunity to promote itself to the entire world. For the 2026 World Cup, the United States is the primary host, and under the Trump administration, there was a clear focus on turning the tournament from a global sporting event into a major commercial platform. The idea wasn't simply for people to watch matches and go home. The goal was to make every minute of the World Cup an opportunity to generate additional revenue. That's why new plans and ideas were introduced, with the aim of increasing commercial income for both FIFA and the companies associated with the tournament. One of those ideas was the introduction of hydration breaks. At first glance, they seem like simple breaks to help players recover, but from a business perspective, they also create valuable advertising opportunities. Companies are willing to pay enormous amounts of money to have their commercials shown during an event watched by hundreds of millions of people around the world. This became even more important because traditional halftime advertising has one major problem. Halftime is relatively long. Many viewers use that time to change the channel, get something to eat, leave the room, or even turn off the television until the second half begins. For advertisers, that means losing part of the audience they paid to reach. A short break during the match solves that problem. It usually lasts only a few minutes, but most viewers keep watching because the game isn't over and they want to see what happens next. In other words, just a few extra minutes of advertising can be worth millions of dollars.
There's another major source of revenue that can't be ignored: ticket sales, premium hospitality packages for corporate guests and VIPs, and official merchandise, including jerseys, footballs, and souvenirs. This brings us to a very important point. Not every match has the same commercial value. Imagine a World Cup final between France and Argentina, a match featuring stars like Lionel Messi and Kylian Mbappe, massive global fan bases, and enormous anticipation. A final like that can break records for television ratings, ticket sales, and merchandise. Why? Because nobody knows what will happen. Will Messi lift the trophy? Will Mbappe come out on top? Who will make history? Those questions create excitement, and excitement drives spending. Now imagine a different final, a traditional football powerhouse facing a team with a much smaller global following. Some fans might assume the outcome is predictable, which can reduce excitement. The result? Fewer people may buy tickets, advertisements become less valuable, official merchandise may sell more slowly, and broadcasters may start asking whether the tournament delivered the biggest matchups that attract the largest possible audience. For FIFA, success isn't measured only by the number of matches played. It's measured by how many people are watching and how much global attention the tournament generates. That's the key idea to remember. The more exciting the tournament becomes, the larger the audience, the longer fans stay engaged until the very last minute, the more money FIFA and its commercial partners make. And that's where the hardest questions begin. If excitement is worth billions of dollars, could commercial interests ever influence the way matches themselves are managed? This is where we need to pause and be very precise. To this day, there is no credible evidence and no court ruling proving that FIFA manipulates World Cup match results or instructs referees to favor a particular team.
It's true that FIFA has gone through major corruption scandals over the years, but the cases that were uncovered were largely related to bribery, marketing rights, hosting agreements, and administrative corruption. There has never been direct evidence proving that World Cup match results themselves were manipulated. Even so, one question continues to come up. Why do accusations explode across social media after almost every controversial match? Why do so many fans feel that something isn't right? Are all controversial refereeing decisions simply human mistakes? Or do the enormous financial interests surrounding modern football make people more suspicious? This brings us to one of the most sensitive parts of the story: sports betting. Over the past several years, reports and industry analyses have highlighted the enormous influence of the global sports betting market and how it has become one of the biggest industries connected to football. During the World Cup alone, tens of billions of dollars are wagered on match outcomes and on almost every detail imaginable: who will win, how many goals will be scored, who will score first, even minor events that happen during the match. With that much money involved, theories have emerged claiming that some groups could benefit from seeing globally popular teams reach the final stages of the tournament. Why? Because teams like Argentina, Brazil, and France have millions of supporters around the world. Their presence in the later rounds usually means higher television ratings, more advertising, greater media attention, and larger commercial revenue. Now let's go back to the Egypt versus Argentina match as an example. According to widely circulated reports about the betting market, more than $1 billion was reportedly wagered on that match. A large percentage of those bets were placed on an Argentine victory. If Argentina had lost, it wouldn't have been just individual fans losing small wagers. Major betting companies, institutional investors, and wealthy individuals can place millions of dollars on specific outcomes.
That creates a scenario that worries many people. When enormous amounts of money are at stake, some fear that powerful individuals could try to use their influence to affect events. But it's important to be absolutely absolutely clear. There is no evidence that this happened in the Egypt versus Argentina match, or that anyone interfered to change the result. These are theories, discussions, and public speculation that have developed over the years because of the extraordinary amount of money involved in football and sports betting. At the same time, it's impossible to deny that football has seen refereeing decisions throughout history that sparked intense controversy. We've seen disputed goals, controversial penalty decisions, and even the VAR system itself has faced criticism because different referees sometimes interpret the exact same incident differently. And that's where the real issue begins. When billions of dollars, global corporations, millions of passionate fans, and refereeing decisions capable of changing an entire match all come together, even the smallest mistake can trigger enormous debate. The real question is no longer simply whether the referee made a mistake. The question is whether modern football can truly separate the sport itself from the massive commercial interests that now surround it. And if you think VAR is an intelligent computer that watches a replay and automatically makes the final decision, that's actually one of the biggest misconceptions in football. The truth is that VAR doesn't make decisions. VAR is only an assistant. It's a system of cameras that records the match from multiple angles and gives referees the opportunity to review incidents more clearly. But in the end, the final decision always belongs to the referee on the field. Even if the cameras capture the same incident from 10 different angles, if the referee believes there was no foul, that decision stands. And this is where the real challenge begins. Not every rule in football is completely objective. Some situations can be decided almost entirely by technology. For example, whether a player was offside by half a meter, whether the ball completely crossed the goal line, or the exact timing of a particular incident. In those situations, the technology can provide an answer with a very high level of certainty. But many other situations are much more complicated. Challenges between players, handballs, penalty decisions, straight red cards.
These aren't determined by numbers alone. They depend on the referee's judgment. One referee might look at the same challenge and say, that's a clear penalty. Another referee could watch the exact same incident and decide, no, that's normal contact, and play should continue. That's one of the reasons football is different from sports where every decision can be measured objectively. But this leads to an even bigger issue. FIFA does not fully release all audio recordings of the conversations between the on-field referee and the VAR room during World Cup matches, meaning viewers only see the final decision, but they don't know what was said between the referees, who suggested reviewing the incident, why was a certain situation ignored, or whether there was disagreement inside the VAR room. This lack of information creates a huge space for speculation, because when people see a strange decision and don't know what happened behind the scenes,
Everyone starts creating their own explanation. Between a normal refereeing mistake, public suspicion, and the billions of dollars surrounding modern football, the story becomes bigger and bigger. But there is still one major question we haven't answered. Are these simply normal refereeing problems, or is there a history inside FIFA that made people lose trust? And if we look back through football history, we'll discover that refereeing controversies did not begin with VAR technology. Before VAR existed, massive refereeing mistakes changed the outcome of major matches and even entire tournaments. And after VAR was introduced, it's true that the number of obvious mistakes decreased significantly, but the controversy never disappeared. Why? Because technology did not remove the human element. But to understand why some fans lost trust in FIFA, we need to go back to one of the biggest scandals in the organization's history, back specifically to the year 2015. That year, the luxury Bauer au Lac Hotel in Zurich, Switzerland, was where senior FIFA officials were staying before the organization's annual Congress. But the hotel that was supposed to be a place for official meetings and formal photographs suddenly became the scene of a law enforcement operation that shocked the entire football world. At the request of the United States Department of Justice, Swiss police carried out a raid on the hotel. The result was shocking. 7 senior FIFA officials were arrested while preparing to attend the organization's annual meeting. American investigators uncovered what they described as a corruption network that had operated for more than 24 years, a network involving allegations of bribery, money laundering, and television broadcasting and marketing deals obtained through secret payments and illegal commissions. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, the value of the alleged bribery and illegal payments in the case exceeded $150 million. One of the most prominent names connected to the case was Jack Warner,
the former president of CONCACAF. This scandal left a major impact because it showed that FIFA, despite being the biggest football organization in the world, was not immune to corruption. And this helps explain why every controversial refereeing decision today is not always viewed as just a simple mistake, because part of the public looks back at the past and asks, if corruption and problems reached the highest levels inside FIFA before, what guarantees that everything today is being handled with complete transparency?
Have the original principles that FIFA was built on truly changed? Principles like fairness, transparency, and keeping commercial interests away from the game? Or has FIFA become more like a global business corporation, just like any other company, where the same rules are supposed to apply to everyone?